News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Kunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Kunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty, the no-fear warranty on new and used vehicles. When you stop by the dealership this weekend, they have a ton of end-of-the-year sales going on. Just tell them, hey, Mark sent you, all right? And they're doing a referral thing. I wanted to mention this. I talked to Jason Buxman over at Kunis Honda Hyundai the other day. He said they're doing a referral. If you are a Kunis customer, you bought from Kunis, and you send someone in and they make a purchase, you get a $200 referral. Cash in the pocket heading into the holiday season. We all could use that. Episode 215 of On the Mark. Thank you so much for making me a part of your Saturday morning on this December 16th. As always, you can follow the show on Facebook. Just search On the Mark KHMO on Facebook. And thanks for joining us on the Facebook Live for everyone who does. You can follow me on Twitter /X, Instagram, and YouTube. We're getting the YouTube channel going now. I do my weekly power rankings on YouTube at Mark Hespin. Simple as that. Just follow me on all the socials at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find that through the KHMO On the Mark KHMO Facebook page as well. What a weekend we have in front of us. Some of the best NFL action I can remember in a long time. Every single one of these games has meaning. Every matchup matters. There is no matchup between teams that aren't playing for, at least one of the teams playing for something really important. We'll get to a full breakdown of Week 15 in the NFL coming on up. But let's start with the fact that the Chargers have fired Brandon Staley. It's about damn time, as Lizzo would say. And that means we have a new job opening in the NFL. Well, let's talk about some of these job openings. It's Hespin Headlines number one.
Hespin's Headlines On the Mark.
All right, so the Chargers move on from Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco, their GM. I actually think that Telesco could have probably stayed, and he'd done a fairly decent job. The Quentin Johnson pick really seems like a whiff. The wide receiver in the first round is the second wide receiver taken after Jackson Smith and Jigba, ahead of guys that are really performing well, even a guy like Puka Nacua, who was found a couple rounds later, and he has to play in his own building. I'll say that was a bad pick. It looked like the J.C. Jackson contract was an absolute disaster for them. But he made some nice moves. I mean, Khalil Mack has been a beast for them, and they, gave up a second round pick or something like that for him, a third round pick. Don't remember all the nuances of that trade. He obviously found Justin Herbert, signed Justin Herbert to a great deal. I was not angry with Tom Telesco. I wouldn't have been that frustrated with my GM as a fan of the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he lost his job when he didn't stand up to the owners or put his foot down and saying, hey, we have to move on from Brandon Staley at the end of last season and go get Sean Payton. This was a Chargers team that you could argue, they building off the playoff run and Justin Herbert, they made it to the playoffs as a wild card team. They should be pumped about that. Yeah, but we all saw the writing on the wall. We all talked about Sean Payton to the Chargers, 8-9 months ago. It felt like it was like kind of a shoo-in. Like he wanted the job. The Chargers should absolutely have hired him for the job. And they stuck with Brandon Staley. And I think that is exactly the moment where you could say, if you look back, if you're Tom Telesco and where it all went wrong for you as the Chargers GM, that was the moment. If you would have stood on the table and said, listen, hey, Spanos family, I get it. I bleeped up. Right? I screwed up. I fudged up. We need to move on. Let's go get Sean Payton. Let's be aggressive. He would still have a job today, and the Chargers may absolutely be in the playoff picture with how tumultuous the Chiefs' season is gone. Who knows? The Chargers could be atop of the AFC West. But right now, they're an embarrassment to themselves. They're an embarrassment to their fans, giving up 60-plus points to the Raiders after they had been held scoreless the week before. That was the exact example of a team quitting on their coach versus a team rallying around their coach. I think I was honestly not surprised at all that the Chargers made the firings the day on Friday, the day after that embarrassing loss. The only thing I honestly was surprised about is the Raiders haven't yet just hired Antonio Pierce, right? I feel like they should. He's been fantastic for them since they moved on from their head coach, and he's been absolutely great as an interim coach, and he feels like the type of guy that could have a Mike Vrabel type career and be a really solid head coach for them going forward and bring stability to that franchise that desperately needs it. Regardless, there are 3 current openings in the NFL today on this December 16th at 9:11 in the morning as I'm talking to you live on the radio. The Chargers, the Raiders, and the Panthers. And those would be how I would rank the openings currently, right? I would say the Chargers is the best job available. Yes, the organization is historically kind of flawed. Yes, I don't love the ownership. Yes, they play in Big Brother Stadium. They don't even have their own place to call home. Yes, they're in the wrong city, in the right state, wrong city. They should just be in San Diego. There's a lot of negatives to the Chargers job. A lot of negatives. You got to deal with the Rams in your own town. You got to deal with the USC and UCLA in your own town. Now moving to the Big Ten, a lot of excitement around those programs. You got to deal with the Lakers, the Dodgers, and now the Clippers are even getting their own building. The little brother in the NBA is getting its own building, and you're still sharing a building in Los Angeles. There's a lot of negatives to the Chargers job. Historically, they're a franchise that feels like they just screw up. They win more games. I mean, the Chargers over the last 20 years, LaDainian Tomlinson, Phil Rivers, Drew Brees, now into Justin Herbert. Life has been better as a Chargers fan than a Bears fan, a Commanders fan, what have you. They've won a lot more games. But they're just as inept and kind of laughable as the Jets, the Bears, the Lions, the Browns, kind of the dregs of the league. So there's a lot that is negative about the Chargers. But if I'm a prospective head coach and I'm looking at the Chargers, I'm saying I have Justin Herbert. I have a really solid offensive line. I have Keenan Allen. I know I have those things. Those are crucial things to winning in this league. I have it now seems like an ownership group that's, all right, they tried to go cheap, and now they realize they got to be more aggressive to be competitive in this market. The quarterback just can't carry everything. So maybe you have a motivated ownership group, right? That's a positive. So those are all huge positives. Do they outweigh all the negatives? Pat Mahomes in division, Andy Reid in division, Sean Payton in division. No, there's a ton of negatives. But any head coaching job that opens is going to have more negatives probably than positives, right? I mean, look at the other 2 jobs that open. The Raiders, an owner who is very poor, an owner who's kind of wild and inept. You have a team that is spending a lot of money on former coaches. You have, again, dysfunctional franchise stink to them in Las Vegas. I would say a lot of that, talent dearth, a struggling offensive line, a defense that has a star but not much else that you love to it, and you have an aging wide receiver star, and beyond that, offensively, the pieces you like, you don't have your running back secured long term. A lot of it's in flux, right? You don't have a quarterback at all. You have draft capital. That's good. You have a destination market. That's good. You have a new stadium. That's all good. But you're in a division with Pat Mahomes, with Justin Herbert, with Sean Payton. All of that negative. The negatives probably outweigh the positives. But again, to prove my point, most coaching jobs that come open, negatives will outweigh the positives. The Panthers. I mean, the only positive with the Panthers seems to be the division. The division is wide open. No one has their franchise QB. you could have all fired coaches by the end of the year, right? And you have none of the franchises in that division are historical, well-run, dominant franchises. So that's the only positive going for the Panthers. Beyond that, you got a overtly meddling owner. You have a non-desirable free agent destination. You have no history in your franchise at Carolina, and you're going in there to fix a quarterback who I don't think could play. I think he looks like maybe the biggest busted number 1 overall pick since Jamarcus Russell. So right now, the 3 jobs that open, all of the negatives outweigh the positives. But we know there's going to be more jobs that open. So I want to touch on that really, really quickly here. So you're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO. KHMO broadcasting live in our Quincy KHMO studios here at the heart of 24th and Broadway in Quincy, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other jobs that I feel like could really come open, depending on how the seasons go. So we have 3 openings. Usually in the NFL, we have 5 to 7 coaching openings. So I'm going to say at least 2 of these next 5 jobs I talk about, they're going to come open. The 2 I feel the most confident are going to come open are the Washington Commanders. I think it's writings on the wall, new ownership, Ron Rivera, they're starting to fall apart. That job will come open. If I add that job to the Chargers, Raiders, Panthers, I would say that the Commanders job is better than the Raiders job, better than the Panthers job, worse than the Chargers job. I would say the positives going for Washington are, yes, the division is tough, but it's no tougher than the situation the Raiders are in. You're looking up at 2 teams, right? 2 teams that are seemingly well-run coaches, good quarterbacks. And then you have, at least so you have the possibility of like excitement. They're talking about building a new stadium. And you have Sam Howell that at least right now says, all right, here's a guy who could be really serviceable. He could be, you know what I mean? Like looks like a better version of Baker Mayfield, like a really serviceable quarterback. And if he stinks in a year or 2, you can say, well, he wasn't our guy, and you go find your new guy anyways, right? So there's a lot of that positivity going for it. Now, a lot of historical stink. You're probably going to go undergo a name change, some things that you don't love about Washington. But overall, I'd say it would be behind the Chargers, but above the Raiders and the Panthers. And then I would say the other job that I feel pretty confident is going to come open is the New Orleans Saints. At this point in time, the Saints, to me, feel like they need an absolute restart, fresh, complete reset. The Saints job I would put as above the Panthers, but that's about it. I mean, you are in cap hell. You are in the NFC South, which is the only positive you have going for it. But again, not a free agent destination, and historically a disaster of a franchise besides the Drew Brees years. So, I mean, I would argue that depending on how the rest of the season goes, the other 3 jobs that to me feel like they could be open, depending on how the season goes, would be the Bucs, the Bears, and Pittsburgh. Those are the jobs that feel like, all right, those are the other coaches that are legit on the hot seat. If any other one else gets fired, I'd be a little surprised, a little shocked. Everyone else feels, to me, like I would keep them, and I think the smart move would be to keep them in your franchise. But Bears, Bucs, Pittsburgh, depending on how the year goes, ends, they could be open. Pittsburgh would be the one job that opened. Well, in New England. So, like, New England, again, I didn't want to talk about Bill Belichick because that's a lot. But New England would be a bad job if it opened on up, in my opinion. It would be a bad job. Good division, no quarterback, no skill position, and you're following the greatest coach in NFL history. That's a tough job. Pittsburgh would be the one job where I do think the positives outweigh all the negatives. It really would be. It would be the number one job open in a long, long time. The positives would absolutely outweigh the negatives. We talked about it last week when, and I fixed the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'd be the one job where it feels like that would outweigh. Now, again, those aren't open yet. Of the 3 that are open, the Chargers is a really good job. And if I'm the Chargers, you absolutely make Jim Harbaugh number 1 candidate. And then I would put all my effort and resources post that into Dan Quinn or Ben Johnson. Those are the three candidates to me that feel like should be head coaches. And those are the three candidates going to be at the top of every board. And so if the Raiders hire Antonio Pierce, which I think they should, right now, Chargers and Panthers should feel pretty good because you could maybe get two of those three. And all of a sudden, if there are 5 or 6 jobs open, you're going to get 2 or 3 people hired that I just don't think are necessarily ready to be a head coach. Eric Bieniemy would be on that list. So there's going to be some coaches hired this year that you feel like, who are they? Do they deserve the shot? And they could end up being disastrous. You just never know. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. When we come back, full breakdown of Week 15 in the NFL. We'll get to it next. It's on the Mark. We're live and local in America's News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai here in Quincy.
1070 KHMO.
It is on the Mark on News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app. I am Mark Hespin. Thank you so much for making me a part of your Saturday morning. Episode 215 of On the Mark, broadcasting live from our KHMO studios here in Quincy, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Big end of the year deals, and you got to ask them about that lifetime no fear warranty on the new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, you can follow the show on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Follow me on all social media platforms and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. Let's get to it. Hespin headline number 2, a full breakdown of Week 15, which may be the best weekend of NFL football we've had all year. Let's get to it.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
By the way, last week, 2-0 in my lock and my upset and my gambling picks for you. I'm back to 13-14-1 on the year. I am half a game below 500. That push I had early in the season has killed me. I have battled back. At one point in time in the season, what was I like? I was like 9-1 at one point in time. It was bad to start. I mean, I'm seeing the board clearly late in the year, and I feel great about my picks this morning. So we'll get to it I'll let you know when we get to it. Let's start with it. Today's games, Saturday games, all 3 games, massively important. Let's jump into it. The Vikings at the Bengals, 7-6 Vikings at the 7-6 Bengals. Crucial game for both teams in the wild card. The Vikings won the game that no one wanted to win last week. Josh Dobbs goes from starter to third stringer. Nick Mullins gets the start. I don't get why the Vikings just didn't go back to Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall, the rookie out of BYU, he had a really nice spark, and then he was the one who got the concussion to then led them to put in Josh Dobbs with like an hour's worth of practice. And then the Josh Dobbs story blows up, and now they go back to Nick Mullins. I would have gone to Jaren Hall. I think it wouldn't shock me at one point in time if we see Hall get into this game. I think he's kind of a fun move around the pocket difference maker. I like the Bengals at home in Cincinnati. I'm done doubting Jake Browning. That dude has just been balling on out. The Bengals are putting up a ton of points, and the Vikings can't score. Vikings defense is very good, but they're on the road. Listen, Brian Flores has been getting really, really creative, and he may be a candidate again for a head coaching job second time around. It wouldn't shock me if he gets some looks what he's done with the Vikings defense here recently. I like the Bengals at home. I think to cover the 3, I think it's the one team can score, and I know they can. The other team, I just don't think so. I know that they're getting Justin Jefferson back and should play in all of this, but I trust the Bengals offense right now a lot more than I do the Vikings. Bengals will win at home. Ugly game, low scoring, 20-13. They'll take care of the Vikings. Steelers on the road against the Colts. This feels like an absolute must-win for the Steelers. The Colts are still playing with house money. The fact that the Colts are 7-6 and are in the playoff picture after losing Anthony Richardson, they are absolutely just free money. You can tell they're a team that feels like they're playing with that. I like the Colts at home. I trust Gardner Minshew and Shane Steichen in that offense and what they can produce. The Steelers feel like a team right now that feels like their defense knows they have to go out and win the game. And as soon as they go down 7-0 or the offense turns it over, it feels like everything unravels for this team. Steelers are just ugly right now. I don't love the vibes in Pittsburgh. I just don't think things are going well. And I think that the Colts have enough offensively at home to move the ball well enough. And the Colts defense has been playing really stingy, kind of. I mean, they gave up a ton to Jake Browning, but overall, for what we expect to see the Colts defense, I think this game gets a little wild at some point in time, but I'll take Gardner Minshew to make enough plays late in the game. I think he's the better quarterback in this game with the better offensive coach. I'll take Minshew Mania and the Colts to win 24-21 at home over Pittsburgh, taking down the Steelers. Broncos-Lions, this game in the evening is the best game of the night. It might be one of the 2-3 best games of the weekend. I love this game for the Lions. They're back at home, indoor Cats, coming off really tough, ugly loss against a division rival. The Lions are coming through this slog of divisional opponents, Packers, Bears. They are better outside of the division against teams that don't know them so well. They have a really physical offensive line that can handle Denver's defensive line. And yes, the Lions defense stinks, but they're back at home and they match up pretty well against Russell Wilson. I think they're going to be able to get pressure on Russell Wilson. Aiden Hutchinson, one thing he has done well in the last couple weeks, so against the Bears at least, is be able to get pressure. I think they can do that enough. And I think you'll see the Lions offense kind of right the ship. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's back. Big game from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jared Goff gets back on the horse, not turning the ball over. I think you'll see a Lions team refocused, re-energized, primetime in the evening at home, take care of business against Russ and the Broncos. Lions are the better team with the better personnel right now, and I think they're playing for just more. I think the Lions know what's in front of them. Losing those divisional games, the Packers, the Bears, two of the last 3 weeks really hurt. I think they refocus in, like the matchups on the outside for the Lions. I think Lions win, and I think it's a pretty fun, easy win. I think it's 33-24 type of win for the Lions at home. Nice get-right win. Monday morning, a lot of people talking about the Lions getting back into the groove of a real contender in the NFC, kind of locking up the NFC North with a win this weekend. We move on into Sunday's slate. Sunday's slate is just fantastic. Again, every game has meaning. 3 games we just talked about, all of those have playoff implications, right? And every single game we're going to talk about here from now on at the rest of the weekend, every single game has legitimate playoff implications. The only game that didn't was the Chargers and the Raiders, and we got that on Thursday night out of the way. Every other game has playoff implications. Bears at the Browns. If the Bears want for me to really believe in them and as a possibility of making it into the playoffs, well then, Bears fans need to root against the Rams and root for them to win. If the Bears can find a way to win this game in Cleveland, well then, yeah, we'll be all the way back believing, right? Cleveland at home. I think this is a matchup the Bears could take advantage of. They play a lot of man. Justin Fields is better against man defense. He's got DJ Moore. He's got Darnell Mooney. He's got Cole Kmet, 3 weapons that can match up well against the secondary of the Browns. The key will be, can the Bears keep Justin Fields upright long enough for his matchups to beat the man defense? I think the offensive line can and will play well. And I think defensively, losing Yannick Ngakoue was bad, but Ngakoue's had a really rough season for the Bears anyways. He's lost a lot. I think the Bears' young defensive line, the interior, Gervon Dexter, and obviously Montez Sweat have been playing really well. The Bears' linebacker core has been just absolutely legit the last 3.5, 4 weeks. I like the Bears to upset the Browns on the road. Justin Fields playing for his career in the NFL. Matt Eberflus coaching for his job. The Bears match up well against the Browns. Outdoors, cold, ugly weather. Justin Fields makes the plays. Joe Flacco makes a turnover. Jalen Johnson trying to earn that big contract. I think makes a play on a ball on a Joe Flacco ball. I think the Bears will maybe get a defensive score in this game. Love the Bears on the road. They beat the Browns 27-20 in Cleveland. Bears all the way back. 3-game win streak. Browns still alive. Obviously, is an 8-6 team in the AFC wild card. But this one hurts losing at home because the Browns have a huge chance right now, especially to separate themselves as that number 1 wild card team if they can find a way to win. And listen, the Browns can absolutely win this game. The Bears are a joke, let's be honest. But the Bears are playing really good football as of late. 2-game win streak, which is saying something for the Chicago Bears. Defense playing really well. And again, I like the offensive matchups. It's man coverage, corners that can be beat with the Bears' weapons. It's not zone. Justin Fields can pick apart man. I think you'll see Justin Fields make plays with his legs. Love the Bears in a kind of sloppy game. Justin Fields plays well. And again, the rumors is swirling more and more so that the Bears are going to stay with Justin Fields and the number 1 pick is up for auction after a game, a big road win for Justin Fields, looking good against the Cleveland Browns defense. Buccaneers at the Packers, huge game. I mean, the Packers, 3-game win streak, then get embarrassed on national TV against the Giants and Tommy DeVito. Their defense looks like trash. That was a game they were supposed to win. The Packers should be 7-6, flying high, hosting the Bucs and putting the pressure on the Lions for the division. But they lay an egg. Jordan Love looks bad. They go home now. Going to be really chilly up there in Green Bay. This is a good matchup for the Packers, but the Bucs are playing really good football, and the Bucs are in the lead in the NFC South. If the Bucs win out, the division is theirs. They are the front runners. I like the Bucs in this game. I know what I'm getting from them. I know the type of defensive effort I'm getting from them. And listen, Todd Bowles has his defense turning around a bit. On the road, Baker Mayfield is no stranger to playing at Lambeau. He's played some big games there before. He played there last year with the Rams. He played there with the Browns. I think this is the type of game that you're going to look at the scoreboard and be like, oh, my God, the Packers, what are they doing? One of those games that gets away. Jordan Love was not sharp. Short week, going home. Now there's a ton of pressure. The Green Bay, the Wisconsin media on Jordan Love and the Packers all week long. I think the Bucs come up. They're playing with more house money than the Packers are. Packers put some pressure on themselves after that 3-game win streak and then the embarrassing Monday night loss. I think that Monday night loss rolls into a bad week for the Green Bay Packers. I like Mike Evans in the matchup against this Packers defense that just doesn't get enough pressure. The way to beat Baker Mayfield is with pressure. Maybe the Packers will show up and you bring some blitzes and bring some pressure. But I still think that Mike Evans and Baker can make plays with those wide receivers, those weapons, can find ways to exploit the Packers defense. I like the Bucs. 27-24, tight win, late game, heroics. Baker and the Bucs on the road upset. The Bucs stay alive in the NFC South against the Packers. Texans-Titans, this game, listen, the Titans shocked the world on Monday night, beating up on the Miami Dolphins. Titans are, again, like the Bears, like they have like a 1% chance of the playoffs, but they can absolutely play spoiler for their division rival, the Texans. They're at home. I think this is one of those games where people are really valuing the Titans. They are favorites after that really gritty, tough, physical win at Miami, and the Texans are coming off a really ugly loss. I think this absolutely, we don't know yet 100% what C.J. Stroud is going to be like coming off the concussion protocol. I like the Titans. This is a game you don't really bet because if C.J. Stroud gets cleared, he plays. He's obviously, I think, due for a bounce-back game and could put up big numbers against that Titans secondary. So if C.J. Stroud plays, maybe you take the Texans to cover or money line win if you can get them some plus money. But if C.J. Stroud doesn't play, you absolutely got to go with the Titans. Vrabel, great coach. Seems like he's got his team believing. They're getting Derrick Henry going. The one thing I know what'll happen is Derrick Henry's going to score in this game. Like, Derrick Henry eats up the Texans. Most of his career yards, like, against the Texans. He's just owned them in his career. I like the Titans to win in Nashville as them and the Texans both kind of playing with house money. These are positive seasons regardless of what happened because both their rookie quarterbacks have looked like they can be franchise guys. I think Levis has a nice day and a nice win for the Titans. Jets at the Dolphins. All of a sudden, this game becomes like a must win for the Miami Dolphins. And that's really tough playing a divisional opponent that, again, is playing loose, playing with house money, and is coming off their most impressive win of the season since the Philadelphia win. I mean, the second best win of the season and the best that Zach Wilson has played maybe in his career in the second half of that win against the Texans. Listen, the Dolphins, I think, will play better. They will bounce back. I don't know if they'll cover the 8.5 points, though. I like the Dolphins, but I would take the Jets to cover. I think this is another ugly game, but Tua and the Dolphins find a way to make enough plays at home and a bounce-back win. They're playing for more. Again, it is Zach Wilson. He'll find a way to make a dumb throw, a turnover that can give Miami some life. I think it's tight at half. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Jets find a way to be up at half, something like 17, 13. Tua makes plays late. Dolphins end up winning, 27-20 in a bounce back win for Miami, for them to keep their hopes of the 1 seed alive and winning the AFC East. But if the Dolphins find a way to lose this game to the Jets, that might be the most talked about game going into Monday, because then you get the Aaron Rodgers talk. You get the Dolphins collapsing talk, especially if the Bills can find a way to win. A lot of interesting storylines around that game. But I think the Dolphins win. They just won't cover. Chiefs at the Patriots. This is a must-win for the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolute must-win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't say that lightly. They have got to go into New England and win this game. I don't care if they win it 3-0. You got to win this game. Preferably you win this game with Patrick Mahomes throwing for 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, and you can calm the waters that offensively Pat is back, the MVP is back, the best player on the planet is back, because he hasn't looked like that over the last 5 weeks. So I need to see MVP Mahomes. You need to win. Like, that's the most important thing, right? Get a win. But on top of winning, you need to see MVP Mahomes. In my heart of hearts, I believe that's going to happen. I think New England, it was a kind of a fun win for them last week, but I think they come crashing back down to earth. Remember, the second half of that game, Bailey Zappi was terrible. They got out to a big early lead, and they were able to hold on to it for dear life. Bailey Zappi wasn't good. And so I think this is a comeback to earth game. The Chiefs are highly motivated, business trip type of game. I think Patrick Mahomes, take the over on yards, over on touchdowns. You need to see the best player on the planet come up and play big. I think he will. No excuses, wants to bounce back, kind of, right the wrongs with the media narrative and everything. I'll take the Chiefs, and I think they cover. I think they win 35-10. I think it's a nice blowout win for the Chiefs. Giants at the Saints. Listen, the Saints, people are really high on the Saints right now because they look at the final scoreboard against that game against the Panthers. If you watch that game against the Panthers at times were the better team than the Saints, and that's saying something. The Giants are rolling right now. I like the Giants. I think the Giants are going to find a way to win this game. The Giants, Tommy DeVito, I think there's some fun going on there. The Saints, the vibes are really low. The vibes for the Giants, extremely high. I get the better coach. I get the better vibes. And I get a team that doesn't hate themselves right now, that is completely playing, again, with house money this time of the year. Saints need to win this game. I think they lose, and I think this leads to, again, the downfall of Dennis Allen. The best thing for the Saints fans, I know this is hard to hear, but the best thing for you is to lose out. It's to lose out, to end up with 6 wins, to just go into the tank and just blow it all up. That is the best thing for the Saints right now. I'm telling you. It is. They have multiple picks. They have capital. Lose out. Just blow it up. Get rid of Derek Carr. Trade him. There's going to be teams that would take Derek Carr. You know what I mean? The Vikings would take a Derek Carr, and you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be teams. Washington would maybe take a Derek Carr. New England would take a Derek Carr, depending on draft. Like, there's going to be suitors for Derek Carr. Blow it all up. Start fresh, and just lose out. That's what New Orleans needs to do. I think losing to Tommy DeVito will be the start of that in New Orleans. Final noon game of Sunday, Falcons at the Panthers. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. I cannot bet or pick the Panthers again. I'm done picking the Panthers, even though I love the Panthers in this slot. I think the Panthers cover the 3. I think it's a really tight game. 21-20. Falcons barely escape. The Falcons are trash. Carolina's trash. This is ugly. I want to pick the Panthers so bad, but I promised myself I won't pick them to win again. But just know, I'm telling you, the Falcons will win. I'm saying that in my heart. I believe the Panthers will win. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO. The KHMO app brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai. Let's move on to the afternoon slate of games and into Monday Night Football. A couple games here left. Only 5 more games to talk about. Commanders, Rams, don't overthink it. Rams are playing really good football, and they're playing for something in the wild card hunt. Get back to 500, and the Commanders cross-country post by. I don't think things get better for the Commanders. I think Sam Howell plays well. Puts up some stats against that Rams defense that is known to be leaky on the back end. But I think Matt Stafford is playing really solid football. His wide receivers are seeing and catching the ball well. Rams will win. Rams will cover. Rams will win, 30-20. Fun, high-scoring game. They'll maybe take the over. Maybe it hits. Maybe it's 30-21. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe take the over. It's at 50.5. Have fun with that one. Take the over. And Sam Howell and Matt Stafford will put up some points. 49ers at the Cardinals. Again, don't overthink it. I think the Cardinals will be feisty. I think they'll be alive in the first half. They're trying to prove some stuff. I think Kyler Murray will play well. Again, he's playing for his job. It feels as though the organization is getting to the point where they're ready to commit to him and Coach Gannon. I think, though, the Niners obviously are a juggernaut, and they'll win this game pretty easily. Will they cover the 12? I don't know. Let's go with they don't for fun. Why not? Let's say the Cardinals backdoor cover late. 49ers win 28-20. Backdoor cover for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Cowboys, Bills. All right, this is what I've been waiting for. My lock of the week. The Buffalo Bills -2.5. I think the Bills win this game at home, 30-27, 30-24, something along those lines, in what will be an instant classic, great game. I think the Cowboys are at the point where I can't predict the Cowboys to get blown out. Dak's playing really good football. Their defense is showing up. The back end you thought was going to be dead without Diggs, but they've got some guys step up. That 5th round pick, I can't think of the kid's name. I think the Cowboys play well, but the Bills right now are – the fact that the Bills survived that Chiefs game makes me feel like the Bills are on a trajectory to win out and make the playoffs. I just have a gut feeling about that. I'm trusting my gut on this one. Cowboys on the road coming after a gigantic win, a gigantic game. Everyone's high in the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys take a step back, come back to earth a little bit. The Bills at home, it's a really tough place to play, even though the weather won't be nasty and terrible. It'll be cold, but it won't be nasty. Josh Allen is Superman. I think MVP Josh Allen talks start coming around after he wins this game. I think you see a big 4-touchdown, no interception game from Josh Allen, leading the Bills to a big victory against the Cowboys at home. And with the Dolphins maybe scraping barely by, Bills, big win, setting up for a really interesting stretch. I like the Bills. Lock of the week, Bills -2.5, cash it. Upset of the week is Sunday Night Football. I'll take the Jags at home +3.5. Do they win? I don't know. But the Ravens are playing everyone close. The Ravens haven't blown anyone out since they blew out the Lions back in week 4 or whatever, right? So I'm taking the Jags at home to cover. I think the Jags win. I'm predicting a Jags win. I think the Jags win 27-24. Fun, great game. But if the Jags lose, it's going to be, 30-33, 30-27. That hook is, if you can get the Jags +3.5, that is my upset of the week. Move the line yourself. Lock of the week, upset of the week, Bills -2.5, Jags +3.5. Here's what I'll say about the Jags. Everyone's doubting them. Everyone's dead on the Jags. The Ravens are the clear-cut now number 1 in the AFC. And so, of course, the way this season goes, what's going to happen? The Chiefs are going to go blow out the Patriots. The Dolphins will survive against the Jets. The Ravens will stumble this week, lose to a good team of the Jags. Jags will look better. And then Monday, we'll have to all look at each other going, what do we do with the AFC now? What do we do? Got the Jags, got the Dolphins, you got the Chiefs, and you got the Ravens all kind of bunched up there. And then the Bills kind of coming back into the fold as well. I think on Monday morning, we're going to look at those 5 teams in the AFC and go, what do we do? This top of the AFC is getting real juicy really quick. And that's going to be because the Jags find a way. Trevor Lawrence, big player, big game, prime time at home, getting healthy with that ankle, finds a way to beat the Ravens. Ravens offensively aren't consistent enough post Mark Andrews injury. And Lamar, even though they won last week, that was an ugly win. It took a walk-off, furious comeback with a walk-off punt return in overtime to win that game. Not where you want to be if you're the Ravens. Finally, Monday Night Football really quickly. I like the Eagles on the road against the Seahawks. Seahawks are just, they're falling apart emotionally. They can't control DK Metcalf. Eagles in a must-win situation on the road travel. I think they go in there. They put up a really clean, good performance. I don't know if it's dominant, but a good, clean performance. 27-17. Take care of Seattle on the road. Right the ship. Dallas loses. And I think they get right back in there with the winning, leading in their division, kind of take a breath. Eagles are going to be okay. There it is. That is my full Week 15 NFL breakdown. When we come back, talk a little NBA. It's on the mark. News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app.
I'm Tumani. When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things. I committed some crimes, even got shot, but I'm not a criminal.
That's right. I'm Jamal. I work for youth advocate programs. Yeah, I was Tumani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, get a job, and work hard to see a better future for himself. If you have a change of mindset, you can have a change of action.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
No, she's a good student and a great kid. As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her. With the youth advocate programs, I was able to connect with Jalen.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration, congregate placement, and neighborhood violence. After completing our program, 86% of participants were arrest-free. YAP works.
And now, I'm a YAP advocate, helping kids like me find a better way.
Youth advocate programs. Others talk social change. We make it happen. Learn how at yapinc.org.
Happy kids heal faster. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids, regardless of their illness or injury. When a child is hospitalized, the happiness of childhood feels out of reach. But that's where Starlight comes in. We provide entertainment through our gaming stations, comfort with our specially designed hospital gowns, play with our toy deliveries, and distraction through our virtual reality headsets. Starlight programs are what happiness is made of. The things that make being a kid special. The simple power of a smile, delivered to over 800 hospitals across the country, can make a lifetime of difference for sick kids. Learn more at starlight.org.
You've heard the buzz. I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
1070 KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO. And the KHMO app brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Got to ask about that lifetime powertrain warranty on the new and used vehicles. Just tell them Mark sent you. The end of the year sales going on now at Cunis Honda Hyundai. Check them on out. All right. Couple minutes left, 3 minutes in the show remaining. Draymond Green suspended indefinitely. That was the right decision. I wish the NBA was more consistent just overall about their suspensions. Obviously, a lot of people argue, well, Miles Bridges is about to go to court for like beating up, allegedly beating up his wife and child and all these things. It's like, that's a tough line to walk. Josh Giddey is playing right now, beside the allegations. It's like, that's a tough line to walk. Those are legal issues that happen outside of the world of the NBA. What Draymond Green did was on national TV inside of the world of the NBA. They can control that more. So I understand the kind of difference there. I don't necessarily agree with it. I would have Bridges and Giddey and all them off the floor, absolutely. But I can understand, people who are getting on the NBA for that. It's like I can see where they're coming from. Now, Draymond Green, he clearly needs help. And part of, I think, what he's so frustrated about right now is we are watching the absolute end of the dynasty. The Warriors are completely falling apart. They haven't been this low in the standings with Clay, Draymond, Steph all playing in a long, long time. I mean, they're 10-14. They're 2.5 out of the 10th spot, which again is the play-in spot. I mean, they are closer to the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, the Spurs, the Jazz than they are, the Lakers, the Kings, the Mavs, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, the best teams in the West. And I don't see that changing. It seems like they need to either make a big move, do something. But right now, they lost 3 in a row and they just don't look right. And I think they're part of Draymond's frustration. Draymond will come back, but again, it's the end of the dynasty is crumbling. We're watching it, and Draymond is a great visual of that. I also want to mention here quickly, game changer versus game manager. Cam Newton said on a podcast this week, Dak Prescott is a game manager, not a game changer. I love the idea of separating quarterbacks into 2 categories, game changer, game manager. Josh Allen's a game changer. I would agree Dak Prescott is a game manager. But Dak Prescott is an elite game manager. Josh Allen is an elite game changer. Versus Justin Fields. If you can only separate quarterbacks into 2 categories, well, he'd be in the game changer category, but does that make him a better quarterback than Dak Prescott is in the game manager category? No. Dak Prescott is a better quarterback right now than Justin Fields. So within those 2 categories, there's still the rankings, the ideas of it. And the idea is that I like the idea that they are 2 circles, right? Like a Venn diagram. And there is a place where they meet in the middle. And where they meet in the middle is where you get Patrick Mahomes. That's where you get Aaron Rodgers. That's where you get Tom Brady. That's where you get Peyton Manning. They're game changers and game managers, elite at both. If you can be elite at both, Hall of Fame and upper tier Hall of Fame. So that I really like that game changer, game manager. Caleb Williams is a game changer, but can he be a really good game manager when he needs to be? That's what GM's got to figure out. See you next week on The Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app.